There's no doubt, I have a lot of video games. They're inside drawers, they're in bins, and heck, even inside the closet. And over the years I've got a lot of these games from going to thrift stores and flea markets and buying them secondhand. And I figured it's by time I actually get some use out of them and give some of them a try. I didn't grow up with a whole lot of edutainment titles in the house, and as I've gotten older and started collecting, I've come across quite a lot of these games, especially at your good old Goodwills and thrift stores. So why not give a few of these games a shot? Well, here's a good one for example, Star Wars Math. This has to at least be, well, interesting, right? Star Wars Math was originally released in 2000 and then re-released again in 2007, which is where my version actually comes from. Star Wars Math was developed by Lucas Learning, I assume was put together to make educational Star Wars games, but other than this, it seems most of their titles were strategy games like DroidWorks, Pit Droids, and Star Wars Gungan Frontier, which I can only imagine how stellar that one is. Out of all of them though, their final game, Super Bombad Racing on PS2, is the only one that I'm actually familiar with and remember enjoying it back in the PS2. Star Wars Math Jabba's Game Galaxy starts us off by having us enter a name before we get thrust into a movie sequence, seeing a ship blast all around the galaxy avoiding asteroids. All of a sudden, the ship ends up getting hit by an asteroid and crashes onto the nearby planet, which just so happens to be Tatooine. After crash landing, you meet up with everyone's favorite, totally not a stereotype character from episode 1, Watto. He basically tells us that our ship is boned and you're gonna need to fix it, but it's gonna cost us some pretty coinage to do so. Watto tells us to go and earn some money and come back and buy stuff when you've earned enough. Our goal at this point is to earn enough credits to buy ship parts, including a new engine, hull, and fuel, and once we have everything we need, we can go around space and collect space junk and earn even more credits to upgrade our ship even more. After that joyous meeting with Watto, we now are at the main map, where we get to select which of the 4 math-related minigames we would like to play. There's a 5th minigame that ends up unlocking, which is the Space Junk Collection minigame once we get our ship all powered up. The games are Dueling Dice with Pod Racing legend Sebulba, the checkers-like game of Hollow Checks with good old Jabba the Hutt, there's Degato with Team Toe, and finally Rats Race with, well, rats. First off, let's stop by Sebulba's for some dueling dice. Basically, the game has you rolling a pair of dice, and whatever they land on is how many tiny droids get added to your platform. Your goal is to hit the magic number of 30 or get as close as possible without going over. For the turn to count though, you must make sure you add the number of droids up correctly before ending your turn. After you go, Sebulba gets to go, and you two go back and forth until one of you either hits 30, goes over, or both of you end up freezing, with whoever having the higher number closest to 30 is the winner. There's also, unfortunately, a rule where if you end up rolling snake eyes at any point, you instantly loses, which seemed to happen to me more often than it probably should have. But then again, I just probably have really crappy luck. One of the things I like most about this game, at least from the edutainment standpoint, is there's usually a visual aid of some sort on screen that you can actually interact with in order to figure out the problems. Basically a digital version of counting on your fingers and toes to solve each of the problems. This can really be useful, especially for young kids actually trying to learn math from this game. Doesn't really necessarily help 30-year-old YouTubers that should already know how to solve these things. After a few rounds of dueling dice, I quickly ended up becoming bored. There seemed to be no way to speed up Sebulba's turns, in which case the game just started to drag. I had more fun watching the little droids descend back into the pit from which they came at the end of a round, or trying to use my mouse pointer to actually pick Sebulba's giant nose. Next up is Hollow Checks, the highlight being that this is similar to Hollow Chess, which appeared famously in Star Wars Episode 4. This version works a bit more like checkers, with your goal being to jump all the monsters of your opponent until there are none left. You do this each turn by picking a piece and moving it to a blank spot, but you can only move ones that have a blank spot nearby and are on the same line as that monster. There is a couple of different styles of boards for you to play, and potentially this game can be the funnest, especially once you get the hang of it, and if you decide to go into the game's multiplayer and play this against a friend. Unfortunately though, it didn't seem to be a whole lot as far as the math department ended up going with this game, but maybe that whole lesson was just lost on me as I was trying to have fun jumping over the pieces of Jabba. After a few games of holo checks, I go in the Watto shop and quickly realize I haven't been earning that many credits. It's going to take a while in order to earn enough just to buy the basic set of ship parts so I can go into space. Hopefully the last 2 games in the collection will allow me to earn some more credits so I can actually get to that final minigame. Next up is the game of Digado, playing against another pod racer named Tinto. Now for this game, you start off the round by getting a rule. Basically create the highest number, lowest number, or a number closest to another number. Then each round, you and Tinto get the same digit droid and have to place it in one of 4 spots, with the 3 spots being the number that you're trying to make, and 1 spot being a throwaway. After all 4 rounds have gone, whoever ends up being closest to that rule ends up being the winner and is rewarded some credits. This is honestly the simplest and quickest game to play, and honestly was pretty fun, especially for a few rounds. But the best thing about this game, the absolute best part, is the music that plays in the background while you're playing. Just listen to this awesome whistle and keyboard combo, all while playing with your digit droids. After jamming out for far too long, it's now time to move on to the last of the 4 main games in Rat's Race. This game is a board game with a mix of math and trivia pursuit. Basically, you move your piece around the board using the spinner to figure out how many spaces to move, and then you can actually move forwards or backwards. Your goal is to get all 5 different colored pieces and then make it to the center of the board first. You of course can't go towards the center until you've earned all the other colored pieces. The game board features 6 colors, with one of them sending your opponent back to start. At the beginning of the game, or at any point you get sent back to start, you do need to spin an odd number to get back onto the game board. The other colored spots on the board represent a different type of math problem, such as addition, multiplication, subtraction, and 2 types of greater than or less than. One being just straight numbers, and the other ones with shapes, figuring out if one shape is bigger or smaller than the other. While Rat's Race is my second favorite, and probably another great one to play with a friend, the best part is the fact you earn a lot of credits by playing it. Every time you solve a math problem, you earn credits. So one game of this got me enough credits in order to buy at least one of every ship part needed to go into space from Watto's shop. It's also pretty humorous. Every time that Rats ends up screwing up, he utters the phrase of Bantha Poodoo, which seems to be something that a lot of the characters in this game end up saying, which always ends up making me chuckle. After earning enough credits, I quickly buy the pieces to my ship and blast off into space for the Space Junk minigame. Now here, your goal is to collect space junk that equals whatever the goal ends up being, such as on hard, numbers that are below 50 times 8, or on easy, just collect the number 10. In this you can speed up, slow down, blast asteroids, and you have to manage shield and fuel. Getting hit, of course, will deplete your shield, and just flying around depletes your fuel. You can get more of this by running into fuel and shield power-ups throughout the course of space, as well as at any point you can end up quitting if you end up getting bored. Either way, when your shield runs out, fuel runs out, or you decide to quit, your score is then tallied and you earn credits. And that's pretty much it for Star Wars Math. You can keep playing the minigames until your heart's content and buy some upgrades to your ship, though they seem to be mostly cosmetic. There's a 2-player option to jump into, which I'm sure could be a little bit of stupid fun with friends even nowadays. In the end, I have to say, I actually enjoyed Star Wars Math more than I thought I was going to, and whether or not I could actually teach kids how to do math is something I can't really answer. I mean, I have a hard enough time doing math on my own as it is. But with that, guys, it's gonna wrap up this episode. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a thumbs up or commenting down below. Especially with this one because it's kind of a test pilot. I'm not sure, how this is going to be received in the long run. If you enjoyed it though, let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to share it with some friends or retweet it on Twitter, all that good fun stuff. I know there's some rough spots throughout it, that is for sure, and stuff I hope to improve upon in future videos if I get a chance to do them. I know my hair was absolutely a wreck during most of the taping, but it was unfortunately too late by the time I noticed it. There's some other videos, of course, I've done this week, plenty of reviews, including a Top 10 Easy Platinums Volume 3, my review for Deadly Tower of Monsters. Also, thank you all the members of my Patreon. Without your guys' support, I really couldn't do what I'm doing, so thank you all so much. Also, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.